Okay, so welcome everybody. Alexis says, my biggest concern is knowing what topic to write about if I'm not already given one. That is a really great point, Alexis. It can be hard to figure out what to write about because these college essays are the prompts are notoriously vague, and they do that to keep it very open so they'll get a lot of potential information out of you. So we're going to be talking a lot about topics and prompts tomorrow. So make sure you don't miss that session. We'd really like to have you there. Ava says she's from Indiana. I don't like to be sentimental, and I'm worried I'll have to do that for the essay. So interesting, Ava. You don't have to be sentimental for the essay, but we definitely will get into the things you should be covering and the things you should not be covering in the next 2 days. And then Isabella said, I don't think you have to. I suggest looking into a montage style if you haven't already to simplify your outline and simply outline your achievements and things you've learned. I'm not sure that that's exactly where we want to go with that. I don't think writing about your achievements is always the best strategy, but we'll talk about why today. And I think by the end of today, you'll have a clear idea as to what things need to be included in your essay. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk a lot about what to leave out and other things that might, bad topic ideas, good topic ideas, how to utilize the prompts and all of those good things. Okay. And Kita, I hope I said that correct. And Kita says, my biggest concern is what to write about if I don't have a specific prompt. Yes, so you will be given prompts, and we're going to discuss all of the prompts tomorrow, and we'll talk about things to do for those prompts and things to avoid. So definitely don't miss tomorrow. San Diego and Matthew is concerned about the format. Awesome, Matthew. I'd love to know more about what that means to you so that I can address it. I would like to get my point across faster without dragging out my sentences. Yes, we have to be clear and concise. I love that. That's very true. And he's from Ohio. Hi, welcome, Dylan. Virginia, not knowing exactly what I should write about. Yeah, it's a challenge, definitely. I'd like to know the breakdown, the components of writing an essay and personal statement. Maybe we'll get some questions as a framework to get it right. Yes, we will be talking about a lot of that today. Fayetteville, my biggest fear is being too personal. I've got a lot of unconventional aspects in my identity. I don't want to go too deep into them, but what what if I've already shared too much? Okay, interesting. That's good, Isabella. And then Ritu says, I have no clue what to even write about. And then Isabella says, I wrote mine using the layers of the ocean as a sort of parallel to my personal exploration. Does that make sense? Yes, I totally understand that. And Niagara Falls, I'm not sure of what colleges want to see in the essays and what benefits, drawbacks certain things may have. We're going to talk about that a lot today. We're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow as well. So definitely a lot of these we will be covering in the next 2 days, these big concerns, these big overarching fears, confusions, not knowing what to write about, not knowing what you should include or exclude. We're going to include all of that today and tomorrow. So please don't miss that. Mariana says, I'm not sure how to connect something personal with other things a college will look for. Yes, that is such an important point, Mariana, and we're going to be addressing that a little bit today. And when we get to that part, feel free to pop questions into the chat. In fact, I'd love for you all to participate in the chat as much as possible. It will keep this process really dynamic and interactive. I'll even have some of you unmute at some times and so you can ask your questions, and we can also troubleshoot and look at examples, things together. Matthew says, how many paragraphs? What size? Do we need conclusion? Is it 2-chunk, a 3-body? That's a great question, Matthew. We are going to be addressing the formatting tomorrow. So definitely don't miss that. And we're going to break down all of those questions for you. When should I be writing the essay and how long should it be? So we're going to talk about timeline and the formatting tomorrow, so definitely don't miss that day. And I think that we better jump right in because we've got a lot of questions. We got a lot of things that are on your all's mind, and I'd like to get you as much information as possible, give you as much support and ideas as possible. And so let's dive in and let's get started. You are here to get your essay started, so welcome. My name is Erin Donovan. I am the COO of College Mastermind. We've been doing college admissions for about about 12 years now, everything from SAT, ACT, essays, letter of recommendation ideas, building out hook projects. I mean, you name it. If it has to do with college admissions, we do it. And I believe we do it really well. A lot of why I think we're so successful in this realm is we really take and distill down these concepts and each piece of the application to make sure it's super effective. So we're going to teach you some of our secret strategies that we use with our clients today and tomorrow. And I hope that you all are ready. I hope you're taking notes. The recording will be available for 48 hours after this, so definitely get some notes down. And then when I post the recording, please go in, watch it, have a look, fill in the gaps of your notes, and make sure you do that before we end up having to remove it in 48 hours, because this is the stuff that we typically work with for our paid clients. So we don't want this all over the internet. We definitely want you to be able to get the most out of this experience. And we hope that you leave with a lot more clarity, a lot less fear, and a lot more understanding of these essays, how they can help you, how they can hurt you, and how to avoid those things so that you can make sure you have the best result possible. And essays are super powerful, so we definitely want you to utilize their full power. I can't be here tomorrow. Can somebody provide an answer? And you can just verify that they're correct. Okay, so if you can't be here tomorrow, then Isabella, you can just watch the recording for tomorrow, and I'll make sure that everybody gets that. So make sure you stay to the end so that we can get your information as well. All righty. So in order to receive the link for tomorrow's training, we need your permission to email you, because we have to be able to send you an email, and Eventbrite for some reason only created one day. It didn't understand that there were 2 days, 2 different sessions. So we're going to have to send you a new link tomorrow. So please, if you will be joining us tomorrow, and even if not, so we can send you the replays, you're going to want to join this link. Diona's going to pop it into the chat box now. You need to put in the www. I know that's crazy, but for some reason the site doesn't work if you don't. So that particular page doesn't work. So definitely put in www.collegemastermind.com/opt_in. And that's going to give you access to our link for tomorrow. So please don't miss that. That should be in the chat box now. All righty. So what do you think of this essay? We're going to take 4 minutes to read this. So Diona, can you also pop in the sample essay? We're going to take 4 minutes to read this. I'm going to allow you all to take your time and really look at it. This is a real essay that was brought into us raw a couple of years ago. And you know, what are your ideas about this essay? So let's give Diona a moment to get that in the chat, and then I'm going to set the timer for 4 minutes and we'll take a moment to read it. So admissions officers do not know you as a person. Every essay that they read will be their first true exposure to you. They will have seen your transcript and your test scores and your other statistical information, but the essays, as well as the letter of recommendation, are the first time they get a peek into you as a human. So this is really important because first impressions can make a big difference. What impression did you have of the student from the example essay? You can pop it into the chat if you want, but I'd really like you to think, like, if you were reading this essay, what impression did it leave on you? All essays will leave an impression, whether that is good or bad. An essay will always leave an impression. It will make you feel like you kind of know the student. So the reason, if it's done correctly, because the reason is that those essays are designed to really expose who you are as a human and not who you are as a robotic student. So they don't want the student you. The student you is evident through all of that other information they're looking at. This is the place where they want to know about you as an individual human being. What kind of impression will your essay leave? Well, that really depends on what you choose to write about, how you choose to highlight certain things about yourself, what you choose to include in the essay, and also what you exclude. So it's really important to understand that in order to leave a good impression, we've got to get a really solid essay. I think you all understand how important an essay is, which is why you're here. So I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but I really believe that the first impression you make through your essay, because they will typically read that before your letter of rec, this will make a lasting impression on them. So here they said they didn't say much about themselves. It sounded like they've been absorbed in the lives of their family and members rather than their own. College might be a good chance for them to find themselves. Yeah, interesting, right? Feels like she wrote it the night before. She talked about her family dynamics 90% and only loosely tied it back to herself. These are really good points. And we're going to hit on these points later as to how they actually will affect the process of how these admissions officers are looking at you so that you can understand which points you should include, which you shouldn't. Think of the essay you're planning to write. What impression do you want your essay to leave? So I'm sure she wanted her essay to leave a great impression, but according to some of you all, the impression is maybe a little weaker than she had hoped to leave. They seem warm, nurturing, and motherly. However, they also they also seem to struggle with doubt and self-worth. Interesting, Alexis, that you could pick that up just from that little snippet. We think after reading an essay, you should be able to figure out what the question was. We couldn't tell from this essay. That's really interesting. And we'll be talking a lot about topics and prompts tomorrow. Yes, it did seem pretty rough and rushed. The essay really only gave me an idea of how the author grew up, but I didn't get a good idea of who they were as a person. Think about these are the same thoughts that admissions officers would have reading an essay. Now, I'll talk to you about definitely getting into these ideas of how to make this impression and why these impressions are being made. We're going to distill it down today so that you really understand how to write a great essay, because that's the first step. If I can't teach you about the real purpose of the essay and how to write a great one, then no matter what I teach you, you could go pick a topic and you could end up with an essay that doesn't leave the impression you want. If you were an admissions officer and you read 50 different applications that day, would you remember this sample essay that you read today from the example? So if you need the link because you were late, please do you want to pop that link in again, just in case we added anyone in. But if you were an admissions officer and you read 50 applications, would you remember this essay? And if you remembered it, would it be for the reasons the student might want them to remember it? Okay, so really consider that, because this is how human nature is. Human nature is selective. When we read something good, we remember it. Okay, if we read something unmemorable, we probably wouldn't. Honestly, I'd probably forget, which is unfortunate because I'd like to give them a chance. This is exactly how admissions officers think. They're not trying to ruin your life by keeping you out of college. They're trying to give you a chance. Every time they open up a piece of your application, they open it with the hope that you're going to end up in the yes pile, but any piece of your application could be ineffective. If it's ineffective, it's just not going to move you into the yes pile. If it's bad, it could move you into the no pile. This, to me, is not a bad essay. It's not anything that's like terrible, but it could be considered ineffective. So let's really see, because having a compelling and memorable essay can help you stand out in a competitive applicant pool, which we all want, because if your application is memorable, it increases your chances of acceptance. At the end, the automatic yeses are a shoo-in. Their essays are amazing. They're going to be automatically there. When they're rereading your application to decide, because you're still in the maybe pile at the very end, and they're trying to decide, should we put them in the yes pile? They're really going to be going like, oh yeah, I remember this essay, or like, oh gosh, I forgot all about this student. And honestly, I really remembered this student. So that student's going to go in. We want to get you into the yes pile faster. So I'd like to know more about the applicant, but the essay did not give me enough information. I'd probably cast the applicant aside if I had a pile of 50 in front of me, simply because I'd have to narrow it down. I love that you all are understanding the psychology of an admissions officer. Their job is so hard. All of these kids are good kids who just want a spot in their college. They're really not trying to ruin your life. They're trying to make sure that they've got a good class who really speaks to the heart of who they are as a university. So I love all of this. Thank you all. This great participation. A bad essay, like a really bad essay, can lead you to the rejection pile. Okay, so the no pile is not somewhere you want to be, but the truth is that admissions officers have to reject some people. They are trying to narrow their maybe pile down. So if they get a bad essay, they're just going to put it in the no pile, not because they don't think that student is a good person, but because there's not enough space. They have too many people to go through. Here are some big triggers. We're going to talk about 3 main triggers that will automatically get you into the no pile. You won't even be considered later. One are little triggers that you will drop out of college. So let's look at why this matters. I talk about this in almost every one of my presentations, and I'm not sure that families truly understand the depth of fear that colleges have around dropouts, failouts, and things like that, because this is what really affects a college's livelihood. So if we look here, 85% of students in the US graduate from high school. No problem, right? That's a good number. Now, this is the number of students who graduate college within 4 years. So of all of the students who go off to college, 41% graduate within 4 years, just like they're supposed to. If they go to a 4-year college, they graduate in 4 years. That is a small number. So you have to consider, relatively speaking, it's less than half. Now, the number of students who will graduate within 6 years is 44%, which means that within 6 years, a lot of students will not graduate. 30% of students drop out of college in the first year. That's 1/3 of every freshman class will drop out within the first year. This is not here to frighten you. It is here to inform you that this is the number one main concern of college admissions officers. Their main job, in order to keep their business alive, is to make sure their students don't drop out, okay? 56% of students who take part in a 4-year college course do not graduate within the first 6 years. These are people who plan to graduate in 4 years, and more than half don't graduate within 6. 59% of students do not graduate college within the first 4 years. So here are some rates. These are part-time freshmen, full-time freshmen for this year bracket that we've got here. Now we get to the good part. The institutions with an acceptance rate of less than 25% recorded a 97% retention rate. Retention means that 97% of their students graduate. How? How do they do this? Why? Why does this happen for these institutions? What do you all think? How are these highly selective universities happening to get such an amazing retention rate when you really, really can't even tell that it's like, gosh, why do they have such a high rate? Is it just because their students are smarter? Or what's the real reason? What do you all think? Why do students stay retained in these ultra selective colleges? So I'd love for you to answer that in the chat, and let's continue. They use the essay to filter and make sure you're not going to drop out. They use the essay to filter and make sure you won't drop out of college. The essay is the key for them. So you may see that these big public institutions, a lot of them will say like, yeah, we're not as interested in the essay. The reason is they're trying to get mass volume of students, and they're not as concerned about dropout rates as these highly selective universities. So I'm sure these students want to get into these schools and carefully consider them. And it's apparent, yes, when admitting students, they say no to people they think will be in trouble and drop out. Yes, that is exactly true. They select the students they feel won't drop out. Yes, they look for people who will absolutely not drop out in the essays. Ava, ding, 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 in the essays. This is where the secret weapon lies. The more selective the university, the more important the essays. Even your selective flagship universities like Ohio State University, they have most likely started to integrate more importance into those essays over the past years, especially as colleges are doing away with things like test scores, and they're just not putting as much emphasis, and you're allowed to do test optional. This is exactly what I was going to say. Yes, Phoenix, that's exactly right. It's not just the consideration, though. I will tell you, a big part of it is that they are ultra selective, and the selectivity comes 95% through the essays and letters of recommendation. Obviously, there is a cutoff in terms of academics. You're not going to get in if you're not academically sound. But the way they figure out who gets in and who isn't are through those two big factors, the essay and the letter of rec. This is why the essay is so important, especially if you are looking at any college that is selective, highly selective, top tier, or Ivy League type college. Okay, so if you are looking at a very difficult to get into college, your essay needs to be amazing. So let's talk about the reasons students drop out, and we're going to relate all of these back to the essay so you understand how these things could come in. We'll touch on the main three of these today. So family is one of the big reasons students drop out of college. And I looked this up as to what this means. Family commitments and challenges are one of the top reasons. Basically, it means that you have family responsibilities and obligations. Could also mean family tragedies and other issues that make you have to leave college. So that is what family means when they say family is a reason. It's not that your family's forcing you to leave. Okay, so let's look at this for just a moment. Let's read this part of the essay again. With my parents being so much older than my friends' parents, I have always felt the need to take on the responsibility to care for them because I realize how lucky I am to have them willing to go through the hassles of having such a young child while they're going through retirement. With no source of income for the past few years since my dad is 65 and retired at 62, I have learned how to manage money and not spend it on lip glosses I will never use and ice cream I probably shouldn't eat anyways. Okay, what might admissions officers see in this part regarding family? Are there any red flags that we are triggering in this spot regarding potential family issues that might be met? Yes, this is right. The student might drop out to care for their parents. Honestly, like she didn't even realize she was saying that. Do you get that? But they would see a daughter who feels very obligated and responsible for her retired parents. Her parents are old and more likely in need of care. And the admissions officer could have a mental bias. This would not be intentional, thinking like old people might have health problems. Right? So if they had a health problem or a tragedy, that would be a really bad thing. And the student would have to leave to care for them. Yes, this student unknowingly just said things that are a big fear of the college admissions officers. Woof, they definitely wouldn't prioritize school over adults. Interesting. Looks like she might be a dependent of her parents. Yes, yes. So this is all really important to understand. This is why a carefully written and reviewed essay is so important. When we read these types of statements that are, look, she probably thought she was showing her love and affection for her parents. That's great. Showing that is not bad. In fact, that's really good. But the issue is we have to be careful how we show it and what we say. We do not want to unknowingly say something that would actually be the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. So there are ways she could have given the same beneficial information without including the information that actually triggers a huge red flag for them. So second reason they are afraid of you is that you will fail out. And this is in college admissions terms, it's called academic disqualification. Okay, so 28% of students drop out of college due to academic disqualification. This basically means that a student is failing their courses or they were not meeting the academic requirements of the university. So this is why schools are so selective regarding academic fit, because they're not trying to have you drop out because you can't handle the academic workload. So you may be trying to get into a school that you consider an ultra super reach. And the truth is if you're not academically suited for that school, it might not even be the best idea for you. Not to say it would be bad if you got in, but I'm just saying you have to understand that they're trying to make sure you match their academic profile so that you can succeed. They want you to succeed. So we know a lot about academic profile, but in terms of essays, what are the giveaways that you might actually be showing them that you are not academically a fit for their university? Well, you could have a poorly written essay. You could demonstrate a lack of self-awareness. And self-awareness is a big issue because you have to be self-aware in order to stay on top of your academics. You might not have organization of thought in your essay, which means that, like somebody said, it looks like she wrote this quickly, and that's okay. But that's not what an admissions officer wants to think. We don't want the admissions officer to think, gosh, you wrote this 3 days before it was due, or the night before. We don't want that. You need to show true organization of thought. Also, if you didn't put a lot of effort into your essays, that's a big problem, because that shows that you are not motivated to actually put in hard work. And I'm going to tell you, 28% of students fail out of college because they don't realize the hard work it's going to take. So this is not because they're not intelligent people. Most people are intelligent enough to get through the college process. The issue is that they are not self-motivated and organized enough to get it done. So that this lack of effort is a huge trigger for colleges. A poorly written essay, like one that's not organized, one that really didn't put effort in to really truly go deep or answer the prompt in a really meaningful way, it's kind of like phoning in. At that point, you're going to get into some college, but you're not going to get into colleges that really are academically rigorous. Also, using AI is a huge no. I could do a whole presentation on this. Let's suffice it to say this. There are tools such as turnitin.com, which is a huge tool used by English teachers to check if you're plagiarizing. Turnitin.com now can track AI. So I have a friend who works there. We actually were teachers together in Baltimore City, and he and I have had a couple of conversations about this because I was curious. He works at Turnitin.com. I said, hey, can you guys tell if, this release, if they can actually tell who's written an essay with ChatGPT, for example? He said, yeah, we've already added in ways to figure that out. So do not use ChatGPT to edit or to write any part of your essay. We'll go into that a little bit further because there's another reason we wouldn't want to do that, but it's a really bad idea. And we've seen through some of our research that students have actually been rejected, and in their rejection letter, oh, I should put this in tomorrow's. Do you want to put this in the notes to add into tomorrow's slide? I've got a screenshot of this, that in their rejection letter, they actually said, we rejected you because you used ChatGPT or AI to write your essay. If you'd like to submit an essay again next year to try again, you're welcome to, but they were rejected. Also, the language you use, how you articulate your speech, what type of speech you use. Is it too formal? Is it too informal? You want the speech to be very clear that you are articulate, you are intelligent, but it shouldn't be too stuffy or not come across as authentic or like somebody older than you wrote it, okay? That's really important. Now, we can't get out of the academic part without mentioning that the letter of rec and the transcripts are also huge academic red flags, but this is the essay workshop, so I won't go deep into that. If you want more information about that, you definitely should come to our May 30th presentation. We do the secrets of college admissions. If you haven't caught that presentation already, it's really beneficial for families. So, but this is why a complete college admissions plan is important. You've got to make sure you are matching academically, and you want to carefully review and scrutinize each piece of your application before submitting. So we're going to drop a link in the chat box now because we do a free review for college admissions strategy and essay. So it's a 15-minute to 20-minute call. And go ahead, Diona, and pop the calendar link into the chat box when you can. And if you'd like to schedule, please do. You can also share the link with anyone in your family, friends, on your social media. We really like to have these calls because we like to prevent any possible issues that students might accidentally fall into through either their admission strategy or their essay. So we'd be happy to serve you on that call. Okay, so the last thing that schools are really concerned about is that you won't be able to pay. So we saw this because, look, financial issues are the top reason students drop out of college. So you have to be very, very careful that you are making sure that you are not emphasizing financial problems within your essays. So in 2022, 55% of college students struggled to find financial support for their studies, and 51% of college dropouts drop out because of lack of money. So this means that in 2022, 51% of people actually left college because of lack of funds. Finances are the biggest red or green flags, because if you do it right, then it could help you, that universities actively look for. So you can't hide your financial situation from most universities because they look at your financial, FAFSA and need most colleges look at that, unless they say they're need blind, in which case it means they make their decision without looking at your financial credentials. Okay, so mostly you can't hide this, but you do not want to draw extra attention to it in your essays or in any other part of your experience through college admission. So let's read this part again. With my parents being so much older, and go ahead and pop it into the chat. You know, I'm going to ask your thoughts. With my parents being so much older than my friends' parents, I've always felt the need to take on responsibility and care for them because of how lucky I am to have them willing to go through the hassles of having such a young child while they're going through retirement. With no source of income for the past few years since my dad is 65 and retired at 62, I have learned how to manage money and not spend it on lip gloss I will never use and ice cream I probably shouldn't eat anyways. Let's see what you all think. What would admissions officers see in this part? They might struggle to find a cosigner. Good, Alexis knows the lingo. Co-signing on loans is difficult, and they might struggle to find a cosigner. Absolutely. There are some financial issues. Again, she shows that she is dependent of her parents, but also shows she's not able to pay for college, which is a worry. Yeah, she states there is no income source. She literally, instead of like painting a picture, she says there's no income. Like, that is a big, big mistake to make in an essay. Honestly, they would see that there's no source of income. They would see financial limitations. They would see retirement. The word retirement is in there. So no chance of financial improvement. And then they would also see spending on lip gloss and ice cream. These are both affordable things. These things are difficult for the family. That is a concern, okay? Do not trigger red flags. Knowing that the parents do not have consistent income could deter more exclusive colleges from admitting. Yes, these are things that exclusive colleges, especially ones that only give financial, need-based aid and not so much merit, like this would be a problem. If she doesn't get enough need-based aid, she would have trouble paying for college. So of course they would see this if they are not need blind, but we don't want to emphasize it, okay? $3.8 billion is lost each year as a result of college dropouts, which means that colleges lose $3.8 billion in tuition every single year when their students drop out. This is why colleges are so concerned with finances and college dropouts. And they use the essay to filter out students who show these red flags. Now, some of you might say, well, I just won't mention finances at all in my essay. Great, do that. Please do not mention finances in your essay. It's not an appropriate place to put it. And there are ways you can, like little mini secrets, I guess, you can use to show that you have had opportunities and it's not a problem. And so that is something that you would definitely want to consider doing. Don't add in those red flags. This is why every sentence in your essay is so important. If you look, we're scrutinizing this sentence by sentence, and it's not a very long essay. It's about 550, 560 words. So we're looking at this to really understand, like, okay, this is what this student is saying in this line, and what is the impression it's making? What is the impression it's making? What is the impression it's making? Is it triggering a red flag? Is it triggering a green flag? Before our clients submit their essays, we go line by line to make sure you are not triggering any red flags. And whoever is reading your essay needs to do that for you. Hopefully, if you all decide at one point to work with us, that would be great. We can do that for you. We're very skilled at it. You want to make sure you're not triggering any of these insecurities of colleges. So I want to make that really clear. Would talking about working hard to get a good grade in a very difficult course be a red flag? No, Alexis, that would not be a red flag. And it's a great question. Colleges don't mind hard workers. They do mind if you work hard and you don't get a good grade in the class. So it's better to take classes that you can get good grades in than to work hard and still get like a C+ or a B-. So it's a great question. So just really use your logic here. You don't want to trigger their insecurities. If something's hard, do well in it. I ended up with an A, B grade. Great, you're fine. Okay, as long as you end up with a good grade, that is what matters. They care about results because they're looking for people who can create results. So let's go to the last top of the top three of the things that make students leave college. Not the right fit would likely create a transferring situation where students might not drop out, but they could either drop out or transfer to a different school. Transfers are also stressful for colleges because when they choose their freshman class, they like to think that all of those students are going to go to the end. So how do we get into their good graces in terms of fit. This is the secret of college essays. Fit is probably the most important thing you need to be communicating through your college essays. So colleges are basically asking, how can I make you tell me about things I can't ask you? They can't ask you about, like, what's your personality like? Or what religion are you? What principles do you have? What, do you demonstrate good character? Because they would get really superficial, silly answers. Like, do you demonstrate good character? Yes, I do. What are your principles? Good ones. So what they do is they tailor the essay prompts so that they intentionally reveal your ideologies, your personality, and your principles. And this is how they dig into you. So I do think it's important that you do open up slightly and show authenticity and vulnerability, but we're going to be very careful about what that word means. Especially tomorrow, we're going to touch on that very, very closely. So we want to open up and show our true selves, but we also want to be careful as to what ideologies, personality, and principles we're demonstrating in that process, because we could unknowingly be demonstrating principles or ideologies that aren't very appealing to colleges, even if we view them in a good light. So let's look at this. Colleges want to know your ideologies, personality, and principles match the students they typically enroll. They don't care if they're specifically this or that. They care about what fits for their college. They're trying to make sure you're successful and won't drop out. So if you think about it this way, they've got this big pile. I always think of it as paper, even though we live in a digital age, but pretend they've got a huge stack of applications in front of them. They're basically saying, like, okay, we love this student. Now let's go in and find their best friend. And they're trying to create a class of people who would love you if you're the right fit. Now, if you are an outcast within their scope, that's a problem for you, because it means that you're not going to be happy at college. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel socially uncomfortable. You're not going to find your people. People who don't find their people end up lonely, depressed, and anxious, and lonely, depressed, and anxious students drop out, fail out, or transfer out. So we don't want to do that. So what we need to do is, for the schools that are the right fit for you, and you can't lie on your essays, you actually need to be applying to schools that fit your principles, your ideologies, and your personality. And this is where a lot of students go wrong. They go for the name because they know the name, but actually the name doesn't fit them. They're not the type. So I think you all have heard, like, in dating, someone might have a type. Well, in a lot of ways, you're speed dating a bunch of colleges and they're speed dating you. Okay. So if you think of that, it's like they have a type, and just because you're this or that doesn't mean you're bad. It's just like, that's great. That's great for somebody else. Right? So every college is looking for different things. This is the beautiful part about the college admissions process, is that one size does not fit any college. You are actually wanting to demonstrate yourself through your essay so that the colleges that are not a fit for you will reject you. It is in your best interest to be rejected from colleges where you will not thrive, because trust me, you'll be happy when you've got your people around you. So let's talk about a student we worked with last year who really wanted to go to Dartmouth originally. Well, we did some research, and Dartmouth was a terrible choice for this student, because we found out Dartmouth is a huge party school through the research, right? We find out Dartmouth is a huge party school. And even though it's an Ivy League, it has a huge fraternity sorority population. And this student happened to not be that type of student. This student happened to be a very specific type. Dartmouth also happened to be like a little bit more preppy and conservative. And this student was from California and was really just a little bit more liberal and laid back. So, she basically told us, like, I'm more of like a nerdy vibe type of girl. So we applied her to a couple of schools that were really good fits for her. And right? This is how you end up at the school that you fit at. So she would have never gotten into Dartmouth. She just wouldn't. But the reason she gets into the good schools that have the good names, but It's that she's the fit there. So you really need to make sure your college list is solid, because if you've got a bunch of names on there that you just know from society, that's great. But you need to go in and type in stereotypes of students at Dartmouth, stereotypes of students at Case Western, and go in and read if you fit that stereotype. Now, if you go to ChatGPT and ask, because I have asked before, and I think it's funny, it'll always say like, well, stereotypes are just stereotypes and everybody's different and all of these students are unique, but the stereotype is there for a reason. It means that the majority of those students are that, and they're looking for those students who fit that, especially if you're average. Now, if you are a star football player or, a national operatic singer who has won beautiful championship singing competitions, you might actually get into a college where you're not a good fit. That could happen because they're looking to gain value from you. But the truth is that you want to make sure you're applying, and your essay will not be able to hide this. And you should not add things into your essay that are not true to get into a school you don't fit in. It wouldn't be wise. So you could do it. I mean, nobody's stopping you, but it just wouldn't be a smart move. So they're looking for academic fit, social fit, personality fit, principles fit. And these are the stages of acceptance. These are the filters you're going through. And these happen mostly through the essays. We already talked about why academically you might fail with the essays. But really, they're not looking at the essays as much for academic fit. They're using the common data set. So again, if you have not been to our Secrets of College Admissions presentation, please definitely sign up May 30th. Diona will drop the link because this is where we go over how to utilize all of this. And it's a long presentation in and of itself. So if you don't know common data set and you don't know how to really look at that, please join that presentation. But the academics that they're looking at are these: academic rigor, GPA, class rank, test scores, etc. Okay, so that's how you get in. You get in if you're an academic fit. Now, if your college is, so social fit is super important. Social fit, if you think about it, college is like 65% a social experiment, social education, and it's around 35% academic education. Even the things you learn in college, you won't apply as much as the social experience you have in college and the things you learn from that. Little things brought up in your essay can help demonstrate your social fit on a campus. Your essay should contribute things that will demonstrate the ways you will positively add to a college's social life. Your networking skills, time management, collaboration, people skills, all of these combined with your personality being the right type of personality, all of these combine to make a social fit for this college. Okay, let's go to this statement here. In my friend group, I have been nicknamed the mom, since I always give great advice for everyone and know how to handle adult situations in a calm and mature way. Let's pretend we haven't read any other part of this essay before. In my opinion, well, I'd like to hear what you all have to think. What might admissions officers see in this part? In my friend group, I've been nicknamed the mom, since I always give great advice for everyone, or give advice for everyone, know how to handle adult situations in a calm and mature way. So while you're putting that in my opinion, this is an accepted type of statement. This is super, super helpful. It actually helps her in this case. This is pretty nice. Exactly, Isabella. It is pretty nice. This is actually a really nice statement here. Social fit. Let's see what admissions officers might see in this part. A side effect of these age gaps, though, is growing up and always being around people more than double my age. As a child, I tended to sit and talk with my friends' parents rather than playing with my friends because their topics of conversation were familiar to me. What might admissions officers see in this part? So in my opinion, this part is a rejected. Okay, this is not good social fit. It's not good social proof. They may end up feeling isolated. Yes, Ava. Maybe good with teachers, but outcast among kids. Yes. Do you see they literally just took that amazing thing they said about themselves, which is like, they're like a mom, they give great advice, people go to her, and she basically just made herself seem like a social outcast. The applicant might not be able to fit into the college community. Yes, that's huge. She can't relate to her peers. That's a big problem and a big red flag. How about this part? I have learned to manage money. Think about it socially, not about financially. We've already talked about it financially. I've learned to manage money and not spend it on lip gloss that I'll never use and ice cream I probably shouldn't eat anyways. What might admissions officers see in this part regarding social life, not regarding finances? In my opinion, again, this is a rejected statement. Will lack common interests with others. Pretty sad that they can't go be with their friends. Yes, that's exactly right, Isabella. They actually can't afford to go have dinner out with their friends if their friends are having dinner together. She won't want to hang out with friends and spend money. Yes, sometimes socializing requires spending money. This is not a good statement to add in. The statement about being the mom, yes, keep that. That was so good, so strong. They love mom-like qualities. They need some people in there to keep hold on some of those crazies. So yes, definitely we want to make sure that we're not triggering any social fit issues within the essay. Personality fit. The essay is supposed to give admissions officers a look into your personality and perspectives. Personality is a huge part of what you're going to bring to the college campus. It's what will make people either be friends with you, not be friends with you. It will make you either be motivated or not motivated. And many students accidentally leave this essential piece out of their essay. How are you planning to add your personality and perspective into your essay? I'd like you to think about that. Really, because your personality needs to shine through. This is the number one reason they're reading the essay. So be careful that you don't leave it out, okay? How students accidentally leave out their personality. They focus on other people. They make their essays about accomplishments they have done instead of about them. They try to be too creative. Sometimes ultra creative writing is not appropriate, and a college essay is one of those times. I love creative writing, don't get me wrong, but don't go too deep into the metaphors and the deep meanings of these thoughtful artistic sentences. The truth is they want to know about you. They don't necessarily just want to know that you're a good writer. Being a good writer who can also communicate and answer the prompt is what they're trying to get out of you, but the truth is they want to know who you are, okay? Also, using AI to write your essay. So I told you we talk about another reason AI is a bad idea. AI is a robot. It has zero personality. In fact, whenever people send me things, I know they're written with AI because I use it enough to know that it's very dry. It has no character, no thoughts of its own, no personality. It's just factual. College essays are not meant to be factual AI written essays. Don't use it. Shallow topics. I'm very curious in just a moment. Shallow topics basically mean you choose a topic that doesn't actually go into your personality at all. You keep it surface. And a lot of students do that because they're not used to writing about themselves. In fact, in their high school, all along, teachers have said, like, don't write, like, don't use your opinions, write in factual, don't use that person, like definitely keep your opinions out of it. So this is one of the reasons that students tend to sometimes deviate is they're trying to be good English students. Your college essay is not an English essay. Okay. So be very clear about that. And then also writing what you think people want to hear. It's a big, big mistake. Don't do that. Don't write what you think your parents want to hear. Don't write things that you shouldn't write, which we'll talk about tomorrow, but definitely get in there and share a bit about yourself. I'm really curious from the essay today, did that essay succumb to any of these? So what could you actually tell about the writer's personality? Like which one of these did they use? Was the writer actually able to demonstrate their personality? Which of these did they use? Focusing too much on others for sure. Yes. Somebody else said they spent like 60% or 90, I forget the number, 60% of the time talking about their family dynamics. Family dynamics are very surface and do not actually get down into personality. Focusing on others is a huge mistake. Don't do it. Now, some people will focus on others doing this and keep putting them in the chat. I want to know if there are anything else that you think that student did. So focusing on others happens also. Sometimes students will write like role model type essays where they're talking about someone they really care about or someone they really love. Don't do that, because what I've heard from college admissions officers again and again is like, great, we want to admit your grandma. Is she applying? And it's like, no. Oh, we know more about your grandmother than we know about you. Don't do that. They focus too much on other people. And I thought the topic was very shallow. Yes, to me, that was another one that was totally clear to me. The topic was so shallow that there was no way for the student to actually demonstrate the personality. In fact, and we have her permission to share this essay because we ended up writing a great essay for her, but we had her totally change the topic because there was nowhere to go with it. It didn't take us anywhere where we could actually work with it. So we took some of the great components out of it, made sure those were included, but honestly, we had to pretty much restart with this essay. Probably wrote what she thinks the college wants to hear. Yes. Oh, Ava, thank you. She definitely wrote what she thought the college wanted to hear. Like that moment where she was talking about her being thrifty, and she thinks that's a benefit, doesn't she? She actually thinks like, wow, look at me demonstrating my financial maturity. But in actuality, she was writing things that were going to hurt her because she wasn't writing about what she cared about, what she was talking about, what she could contribute. And that's really her big mistake. So she did a great job, creating this essay from scratch. This was a draft she brought into us, wanted our opinion on it. And, we really gave her a lot of advice as to how to take it and transform it. And we had to start with a different topic because the topic couldn't take her anywhere, but also we had to take out the parts where she was focusing all on other people. You can do that a little bit to show that you're connected, but it shouldn't be most of it. Okay, having the right topic and a clear strategy for your essay can make sure your personality shines through. The topic is huge. So tomorrow we're going to dive a lot into topics. So don't miss tomorrow. And if you do, watch the replay. It will be available for 48 hours starting tomorrow. So having the right topic is really important. This can help you make sure that you're diving into a place where there's places to go. If you dive into a really shallow pool, that's dangerous. And this, you want to dive into this college essay. You really want to have it make a splash. I'm using a diving analogy, so I thought that was cute and clever. Let's keep going. It will also make your essay unique and more likely to go from the maybe pile to the yes pile. So a good topic is going to let your personality shine through. When your personality shines through, you will be unique because nobody else in the whole world has your exact personality. And so this does make you stand out. You don't need to stand out with a bunch of other things. You can stand out by having a great topic and really letting your personality shine. Okay, so let's talk principles and then we'll get into a little bit. Great, we're still good on time, which is great. So principles are big. Principles basically are like the values or the beliefs or the ideologies you share with a college or in general. So having the same principles as a university will increase your likelihood of success there. We already talked about fit being a huge dropout issue. So colleges are very concerned as to whether you share their principles and values or not. Now, if you are applying to a school like Notre Dame, it is a very conservative school that has Catholic principles and values. If you are applying to a school like Oberlin College, it is a very liberal school that has ultra liberal principles and values. So you would definitely want to do that in a way that, you're applying to a school that makes sense for your child, or you, depending on, if it's you or your child. So we really want to make sure your principles fit. How you do that is you have to know your principles. And this is really important. So here are some principles colleges love in general. So if you add any of these, you cannot go wrong. There are some principles that are very college specific, but we thought giving you a list of principles that colleges liked in general would be really helpful for you. So if you want to stay safe and go safe, you can add any of these ideas into your essay. If you want to go a little deeper and you want to really look at the fit of the college and the university, that's what we recommend. You need to truly study those universities and understand what principles they live by, what values they live by. And if that's a fit for you, that's going to be a very effective essay for you, because when you're naturally sharing your principles and your values and your character, that's going to shine through and you're going to be a big old yes for them. So let's talk about what makes a student successful, because colleges are not only looking to reject students, they're also looking to accept students. So they're looking for students who will be successful. Here are the markers of success from a college point of view, not from a human point of view or from mom and dad's point of view, from a college point of view. A college thinks you are a success if you graduate. Okay, so you graduate, check. If you will not transfer to another school, check, you're a success to them. If you will pay your tuition, check, you're a success to them. And if you will donate money to school when you leave, which means you have to become relatively financially successful, check, you're a success to them. These are the big things that colleges want from their people. Now, this may seem like a little bit shallow, but it is. It is, because they're looking for you to contribute to them. They're actually looking at the value you're going to bring to them. Likelihood of success is achieved by avoiding adding things to your essay that will trigger the red flags we've talked about earlier. So basically, if you're not going to drop out, it means you're likely to graduate. If you're not going to fail out, it means you're likely to graduate. If you're not going to transfer out, it means you're likely to graduate. So again, all of these things will really add to make sure you don't have any red flags in your essay. Don't add anything that accidentally makes you look bad. And remember that we just talked about the other essay. It's like, she was trying to demonstrate that she was financially capable of, managing money and to show that she was financially responsible, but it actually bit her in the end because it made her look like they had financial issues in the family. So again, be very careful, because you might be adding things that you think these are great attributes to have as a human, but you're forgetting that we're not looking to be great humans. Colleges are looking at you to be great, successful college graduates. Okay, that's what they care for about you. Okay, so really keep that in mind, because I think it will alter the difference and really help keep you out of that rejection pile. So character, I will mention it in every single workshop I ever teach, because I believe it is the secret to success in life, but also it will be the thing that will set you apart in your college admissions process. Character is the way that somebody thinks, feels, or behaves. Colleges choose students who think, feel, and behave like successful college students. And successful college students means the list I just talked about. You will graduate, you will not transfer, you will donate money when you leave, right? You will give them a good reputation, you will bring value to their people, etc. College readiness is really what they're looking for in these essays. And that includes integrity and all forms of maturity. That's why, do you remember when we read that earlier? She was talking about how people came to her for advice because she was mature. Oh, that is a great statement for her to make. She did so well with that. That is a big A+. And colleges would be like, ooh, yay, we love this. Okay, so definitely make sure you're demonstrating your college readiness, and do that through your essays. This is so important because colleges are looking for these traits. Remember, 30% of students drop out because of fit issues. So if you're not actually, mature enough for college, you're not ready for that college, you're not fitting their profile, it's a big problem for them, and they're going to reject you. And here's just a little recap. We've talked about some of these, but other skills, because I feel like this is important for you to know. Here's some skills that colleges care about: social skills, time management, study skills, personal responsibility, stress management. Can you actually handle yourself under stress? And healthy decision-making skills. If you can demonstrate some of these things through your essay and avoid demonstrating negatives of these through your essay, you will add to your capacity to get accepted. Remember earlier when she said that she wasn't really able to socialize with her peer group? That was a big no here. Do you remember, like, any types of things? Personal responsibility. Well, a lot of you mentioned earlier, she seemed pretty dependent on her parents. So is there personal responsibility? Well, she did talk about babysitting and doing certain things, right? So there weren't but there wasn't a lot of these other things in there that we could really see that she was a college-ready student. She seemed like a good person, a kind, thoughtful, caring person. That's great. Colleges care about that too, but they care more about if you're going to finish college than if you're a good person. I hate to say that because that's not how life works. So don't get used to that. But in terms of your essay, show both. You need to show both. And in life, it's good to be a good person, but it's also good to add and contribute something valuable that is going to bring you to a level of, self-reliance and success. Okay, so this is just a little bit of advice for you all. So I'd like to take a little momentary break, and here in the chat, or even take a couple of volunteers who'd like to unmute themselves, let's take a moment to hear some of what your thoughts are so far. We've been giving you a lot of information. I want us to be able to bounce some ideas off of each other and to hear ways that you can apply this. So go ahead and raise your hand if you would like, and you can unmute yourself then. So if you'd like to participate, raise your hand, and I can hear about any thoughts you've had along the way, any ahas. You can put them in the chat. You can add here. I'd just love to hear what you all are thinking so far. Probably wrote she thinks what they want to hear. What was the essay prompt anyway? Do you know? I can't even remember. That is so funny. It might have been the seventh one or the last one that says basically write about whatever you want. I couldn't tell you, to be honest, and I don't remember. It's a really good point. Can't even tell which prompt she used. So that's a big red flag. We're going to talk a lot about prompts tomorrow. Okay, so what have you all noticed from this experience of what we've taught so far? Is it a good idea to write an essay about a personal struggle challenge if the point of the essay is to demonstrate how you overcame that struggle challenge? That is such a good question, Lisa. We'll get into this in depth tomorrow, but let me answer it now because I don't want to keep putting things off. Topic number 2, prompt number 2 in Common App basically says, write about a personal challenge you have overcome. I am very, very wary to ever recommend students choose prompt number 2. Prompt number 2 to me is a giant pit of potential fatalities. So let's talk about it for a moment. Prompt number 2 is dangerous, and here's why. It can trigger so many red flags if you don't do it right. The biggest mistake students make when writing about prompt 2 is that they spend all of their time talking about the challenge and the struggle and how hard it was and how much difficulty they experienced. And then they never actually talk about how they grew, what they learned about themselves. And it just ends up being a really muddy festival of things that make you look terrible. So I tell people to pretty much avoid prompt number 2, and definitely don't write about something that is ultra superficial. So for example, if you choose prompt 2, do not write about your parents' divorce. Do not write about the time you ran for class president and didn't get elected. Those types of challenges will seem very disconnected and unaware. Like there are kids who maybe struggled with hunger or, whose parent passed away. I mean, there are kids who have had massive challenges. For those kids, I think that prompt 2 could be appropriate if done very carefully. But prompt 2, I would never recommend to tread prompt 2 alone. So if you're not getting help from an expert, don't choose prompt 2. That's my general advice. But if you do have a big tragedy, then I really, really recommend, I really recommend you avoid prompt 2 unless you've got help. So she said, Common App prompt 2 is exactly why I asked this question. Our thought process was regarding mental health. We are going to discuss mental health a lot tomorrow, so let's hold off on that part, but I hope I at least gave you enough to answer your question. That's a great question, Lisa. Thanks for asking it. And guys, put your questions in because now's a great time. We'll have a little break here to answer questions. I appreciate the information. I was surprised at the things I was supposed to avoid. Alexis, I would love to hear, if you don't mind, you can unmute yourself. I'd love to have a quick conversation with you about the things that surprised you, because this is really interesting. And I think that we can go even a level deeper. So if you want to unmute, you're welcome to. If you prefer to chat, you're welcome to do that as well. But please, if you are willing to have a convo, I'd love to hear from you. I love the way you're breaking down each part of the essay. I didn't realize how important that is. Arlette, I would love to hear more about that too. Tell me what you mean, how important, what is? Be more specific. I just love these questions. I love to get into your minds, and you're welcome to unmute as well, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. This is the participation portion of the presentation. Phoenix, I agree. I wasn't really aware of all the things that can be seen as negatives. Yes, this to me is the #1 mistake students make. They have no idea what the pitfalls and the traps are, so they have no idea how to avoid them. This student that we're looking at, she thought she had a good essay. It's not bad if you're not trying to get into college. But she's trying to get into college with the essay. And again, nothing wrong with a great essay, but, or writing an essay like that. But again, it's not going to get you in. It's going to trigger the red flags. And if you don't know the red flags, then you're in trouble because you can fall into them and you can unknowingly flag them. I appreciate all the insights you're providing. I'm so glad it's helpful. Honestly, this type of thing, I could sit here and say, okay, great, let's pick topics today. But if I did that without teaching you all this first, you would likely pick the wrong topics, because now you've got this overarching understanding of like the dangers of the college essay, as well as the objectives. And if you don't hit the objectives and you fall into the dangers, you end up with an essay that could be well written, but not effective. Yeah, absolutely. You can do it in the chat, Alexis, no problem. Would you say that the oceanic analogy would be too much creative writing, or would it depend on my execution? That would completely depend on the execution. So that it's not that you can't add creativity. I do want to clarify that point just so it's clear. Creative essays are great if you don't let the creativity sacrifice the personality, because sometimes art can be a veil between the actual person and the depth of what they have to offer. Showing creativity and great writing skills is always great. Definitely, definitely. Having a really neat theme like that could be great if it's executed well. So what I say is, if you're going to go creative, be 90% more focused and diligent on the execution, and definitely have it proofread by an expert. Ava, so colleges like nice and kind people, but is it better to be rational most of the time? Or is that just about who you are as a person / your personality? This is a great question. I love this question. So yes, they do care about nice people, but more important than being nice or kind is that you are a rational student. And here's why. Rational students think rationally. Kind students could still think from an overly emotional place, which could lead to having challenges and not being able to overcome them. So we don't want to display too much of an irrational side. Being kind and nice does not do that, though. You can show both. Don't just do one. This is the big mistake students make, is they're like, I'm a good person, which is true, but good people still drop out of college. Okay, so that's important to know. And remember, the number one trigger for colleges is dropping out, failing out, or transferring out. Now, that might seem like I just said three things when I said number one, but it's all the same thing. It's you leaving their university before you graduate. Anything that will trigger that is not good. So don't. So yes, showing that you're kind is important. Showing you will finish college is more important, but you cannot say the words, I will finish college, because that is blatant and obvious. And you've got to be a little bit more clever than that. So here's where your artistry can really come in. How do you artistically tell a college you will finish college? Okay, Alexis says, I was surprised about the fit and finances points. I would have mentioned being good with money and my family if I didn't know how to avoid it. Oh, see, we just saved you from a potential trap. I'm so glad, Alexis. That's great. Ritu says, what are the Common App prompts and do they change yearly? We are going to cover the Common App prompts, and I actually have them listed out for you tomorrow. So don't worry about that. We'll go over that tomorrow. They don't change yearly. They do change, but when they change, it's already happened. So they didn't change this past year. So they're ready. My dog is barking now. Also, is writing about living with a chronic illness a bad idea for a prompt? I notice health as a reason for dropping out. Yes, Alexis, health is a reason students drop out. In fact, it's one of the big reasons. So you would want to be careful, okay? And if you wrote about that, I'm just going to be honest, I don't necessarily see the benefit of writing about that. I can't imagine you actually pulling something out of that you could create a beautiful, amazing essay out of. So let's talk about it more tomorrow through the prompts, but I would probably recommend avoiding that topic. I agree. Thank you for your input. No problem, Alexis. I'm still kind of confused. Mariana says, I'm still kind of confused on how I will connect my personality with the essay I write. So Mariana, you can definitely schedule a call with us. We'll talk this out with you because this is really important. Getting your personality to shine through is essential. So definitely, you know, Deanna will put that link back in. Don't feel shy. You can schedule with us. We'd love to talk to you. But it's going to be very specific and based on each person. So it's a little bit challenging to say generally. But in terms of generals, you get your personality out by picking a great topic and telling a story that can really expose you in a way in the best light. Now, you don't want to be exposed and expose things that would paint you badly. So definitely be careful with that. If you talk about overcoming, would it work out? I'm guessing you're talking about the mental health, Isabella. I would still be very, very careful. The truth is that at your age, or maybe health issues, I'm not sure what which one you're talking about, but I would be careful talking about overcoming. Again, I am ultra particular about who I recommend essay prompt 2 to. Also, essay prompt 2 is one of the most chosen essays because students are really good at writing about what's hard for them. So I think I've made it pretty clear through this presentation that writing about your challenges or painting yourself in a light that's less than ideal will backfire for most of you. So I don't recommend it, honestly. If I would tell you, probably 99% of students, I would forbid from using prompt number 2. I'm just going to be honest. That's like most students who come to us. There was one girl in the history of my time where I allowed use prompt number 2, and it's because her mother passed away. So that was something that I thought we could really bring. That's a huge part of her story and a huge part of what affected her life and gave her the viewpoints she has. And she created a massive amount of maturity through that terrible loss and just terrible experience. But in general, I don't recommend it. So honestly, my answer to you is probably avoid it. How exactly do you show healthy decision-making? How exactly do you show healthy decision-making skills? That's a great question. Let me see if I can give you an example. So had it not triggered, let's use the example today since we're also familiar with it. Had it not triggered the fear of the college's financial issues, the person who wrote the essay we've been working with today actually demonstrated healthy decision-making skills by not going to get ice cream and lip gloss, but she did it in an example that triggered a red flag of a college. So showing that you are a rational decision maker is a positive thing, but don't do it in a way that will trigger one of their red flags. So that's an example of how it was done, but it wasn't done well because it actually triggered a red flag. So no, the calls don't cost any money. They're free. So you can just schedule the call. They're free. Alrighty, I think that's it. Any other questions? Let's keep going. We're doing so great. I'm so excited. And we have plenty of time to finish out. And I think we'll have some time for questions at the end too, hopefully. So we're going to get into some activities as well, so you guys can have a little practice and apply some of this awesome information to start to brainstorm for your own essay. The essay is where you can demonstrate all of your character, all of your college readiness, all of your social fit, academic fit, all of the things we've talked about, your financial fit, your family fit, anything that could possibly trigger a red flag. This is where you can demonstrate that you will not trigger a red flag. You're going to highlight this, but there's a big but. It's very important that you don't just blatantly state these facts. So you can't say, I am a good person, because that can come across as bragging or arrogance. So honestly, you have to paint a picture through the topic you choose, through the progression you will take through your essay. I hope that makes sense. So let's do an activity because it's time to get your hands a little bit dirty. I know we already accidentally posted this link. Deanna, make sure you get the right link in there. This is the activity brainstorming link. So before she posts that, I want to make sure that you understand what you're going to do. So we're going to take 2.5 minutes, and I want you to find some positive character and qualities about yourself. I have a whole big checklist here of a lot of options. You're going to pick some, and then At the end, you're going to write in the 20 that you chose into this chart. Do not go past this stop here. Okay, stop right there. So 2.5 minutes. I will wait to see all of you populate into this document. I guess it's maybe you get your own document. So, so go ahead in. I think you need to make a copy of it. So go ahead in and make your copy. And I look forward to seeing you again in 2.5 minutes. So I'll set a timer and I'll be back then. Okay, so warning. If you blatantly list your character attributes in your essay, it can come across as bragging and arrogance. So you just made this list. You can't say things like, I am confident. Like, again, you can't just directly say these things. These are things that need to be hidden and integrated into your essay. And sharing character and college readiness in an essay requires you to tread a very fine line. So you want to make your point and bring it across without it sounding forced and self-centered. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, for those of you Mission Impossible fans, is to write an essay all about yourself that does not come across as self-centered. Piece of cake, right? So that's the challenge. It's a fun experience. And that is exactly what, that is the whole point of the whole essay, is to write an essay all about you that does not seem arrogant, self-centered, or out of touch with others. So this is truly the difficult task of writing a great essay, which is why, having structures in place, coming even to this workshop, getting this great information, understanding how to do this, working step by step through your essay, using logic, using the things that work, that's going to get you your best result. Okay. So now, let's get into one of my favorite parts about the college admissions process. This may not seem like the favorite part to you, but I'll explain why I love it so much. Because when you understand this, your perspective of college admissions shifts. And when your perspective shifts, you're able to very effectively utilize what you understand to be effective in all of your admissions processes. So you might hear people saying like, what is your value? Or, demonstrate your value to colleges. You might not understand why college admissions officer or college admissions experts like us will say that, like, you need to bring forward a unique essay. You need to show your unique voice, be authentic, be this, be that. And the reason we're saying this is because we know something you don't know. So you're going to hear us say things like, make sure your essay stands out. I don't know why it always autocorrects your to tour, but yes, my computer does that for some reason. Make your essay unique and memorable. Give your child an edge over the competition. These are all weird marketing words to say something. But do you know why we say this? And do you know how to do this? There's a real reason why we say this. So let's get into it for just a moment. Let's see what we've got in the chat, though. I see some things coming in. Opt-in page to receive email for tomorrow's link. Great. Thank you, Diona. Is that the same one from the beginning of the meeting? Yes, that is the same one. So if you want to receive the login details for tomorrow, because we have to send you the Zoom links through email. So if you want to receive them, please follow that link and make sure that you fill that out. Thanks for the reminder, Diona. You're always on top of things. We love that about you. All righty. So do you know why you need to stand out? Get an edge over the competition, make yourself unique and memorable. Well, it's because we understand how colleges work. Now, some of you might think, well, I don't really have anything unique or special or memorable about me. Maybe you just are a normal teenager, and that's okay. So what if you weren't adopted from Cambodia? And I just added this example today because honestly, we talked to a mother like a couple weeks ago who was like, well, my son wasn't adopted from Cambodia, and he's just a typical kid who's high achieving and a good student, and he doesn't have anything special about him. Now, I'm saying special and unique because we all have specialness and uniqueness to our personalities and who we are. But in a college admissions realm, how do you actually stand out in a crowd, and why is it important? Well, do you have to have a huge adversity or a huge sob story? No. In fact, in a lot of ways we've talked about today that maybe adversity and sob story is not the way to go. Maybe you aren't an Olympic athlete. It's like, does that make you unworthy of a college education? No. Maybe you don't have any kind of racial diversity. You just are the racial majority of that college. And it's like, okay, so what do you do then? What if this is you? And that's okay. What if, gasp, you are average, right? It's like most people are average. So this is really important to understand. But then you hear people saying but you need to be unique and you need to add value and you need to stand out from the crowd. Well, that can be very confusing to kids who are yeah, but I'm just a normal kid. So when I'm saying average here, now average has a very bad connotation to it in recent world. When my parents and my grandparents went to high school, most kids got C's because being average was normal. But now there's something called grade inflation. Grade inflation basically says nobody is allowed to be average. Everybody has to be above average and exceptional. And so that's not what we're talking about here. We don't believe that everybody is above average or exceptional. That doesn't actually make logical mathematical sense. And I was a math major in college, so math is important to me. So I can't say that you will be above average, you will be exceptional. Those things are very rare. So if you're not an Olympic athlete and you're not adopted from Cambodia, or you're not, experiencing something that very few students experience, that's okay. There's a solution to this. Your value is still very easy to demonstrate in the essay if done properly. You don't have to have this exceptional idea of life or really, really transform yourself into an Olympic athlete in a few months. Because I know you guys, time's ticking. So if you're not already an Olympic swimmer, it's okay. You don't have to go start swimming today. Also, the likelihood of you becoming an Olympic swimmer by November, early decision time, is pretty low. So what do we do? It's okay, you still need to demonstrate value. What does this mean? So this is what I'm talking about. One of my favorite aspects of the college admissions process is this one point. I have goosebumps because I love this so much. Universities are not run like charitable educational institutions. They are run like businesses. So just because you are not an orphaned child or because you have not won an Olympic medal does not mean you are not valuable to a college. Colleges don't always see adversity as adding value. They will utilize that sometimes to fill certain quotas. And if you definitely show an exceptional level of overcoming, it can help. But in the long run, colleges are not looking to be your charitable institution to rescue you from your problems. This is why we tell people to avoid things like mental challenges. Remember that $3.8 billion they lose from dropouts, failouts, and transfer outs? Yeah, don't trigger that. So if colleges are run like businesses, this is why we talked about earlier. What do they care about? That you graduate, that you don't transfer, that you graduate, that you graduate, that you graduate, that you give them money after you graduate. Okay, so that's pretty much it. They care about that. Now, when you understand that, you start to look at value differently. Suddenly your value does not come from this crazy, amazing Olympic athlete story. Suddenly value comes from what is valuable to the colleges. Let me know in the chat if this is making sense to you, because this is your secret weapon out of the fear that you have nothing valuable or special about you. There are tons of things that add value to a college campus. And the good news is if you can hit on these, you don't need to come up with this exceptional topic. You can have a nice overarching theme or topic or hook is what we call it. And then from there, you grow the value of who you are by adding those other pieces in. Okay, let's see. Sort of embarrassing. Oh, embarrassing to say, TT, you don't need to be, I'm so old, I don't know what TT means. So if you could just throw a girl a bone and let me know what that means, I have no idea. That's sort of embarrassing to say. TT, you don't need to be anything specific. Average people can be very valuable members of society. Yes. Now, Isabella, the important thing to know is that we are not looking to be valuable members of society, because that's not what colleges care about. They are businesses. They don't care about the human you will become as much as they care about the reputation you will give them. Now that sounds shallow, and they are shallow, because in all honesty, most businesses are shallow. Now, the cool part about a lot of businesses is, while they have like this shallow underpinning, they also are serving a greater good. So that's what makes colleges at least a nice business, though maybe, you know, a little bit challenging because they don't tell people how to be successful, but that's what we're doing here today. Okay, wait, maybe I'm sorry, that's a crying face. Oh, okay, that's why I didn't know. So I'm not so out of touch. I know what a crying face is. Great, thank you for clarifying. What are some examples? Examples of what, Alexis? I lost that train of thought. Can you just fill me in? So filling the mold of a student who will graduate is the key to being valuable to a college. That's number one. Yes, very, very important. We also have to think of what value you can bring in terms of their actual college experience. Graduating is at the end, and that is their number one priority, is to get you to the end. But there are 4 full years in between there. So let's talk about what happens in that 4 years and how you can add value to them. Of value I can bring to college. What are some examples of value I can bring to college? I am so glad you asked, Alexis. Let's get into that, shall we? So before we do, I've got a few more slides, but we're about to get into that, Alexis. Your main task in your essay is to sell your product. You basically have a product, and that product is you, okay? And you need to sell it to your customer, which is the college. Now, it's crazy because you're selling your product, but then you're also paying them to take it. So a little backwards in terms of the typical business model, but you know, hey, it's obviously it works for them. So you're selling a product and then you're paying them to take it, which is crazy. And I love it. Okay. So now we're getting into Alexis's question. What creates value? Well, in order to understand value, we need to understand, you didn't know you were going to get an economics lesson today, but you are, the basic principle of supply and demand. Supply and demand is what sells a product. The lower the supply of the product, and the more in demand it is, the higher the price you can charge for the product. So let's take 2 things just to give a good real life example. Grass, well, I live in Arizona, so grass is not as easily supplied as it might be in other states, but let's take it in general. A plant, some plant that's out in the everyday world, a leaf, you know, an orange. It's like, those are pretty easy to get. Okay, so let's take a tuft of grass. How many of you would stand in line all day long to get a tuft of grass? That's like, come stand in this long line and you get this blade of grass. How many of you would do that? I'm curious. Anybody want a tuft of grass? But what if someone was giving away free diamonds? How many of you would stand in line, or even maybe think, I'm not standing in that line because I know that diamond isn't real. Like, because you know diamonds are valuable. So I'm curious, tuft of grass, diamond, right? What makes a tuft of grass unvaluable, even though technically speaking, we require the tuft of grass for survival because it creates the CO2 or it takes our CO2 and creates the oxygen. So, but diamonds in our mind are more valuable. Why? Because they are rare. I wouldn't either way. Okay, Dylan's not interested in diamonds. I'll take it, Dylan. You can give it to me. Your mom will like it. I know her. Okay, grass heart. How good is the grass? It's not a very good grass, just a typical everyday grass. I enjoy grass a good amount. Yes, me too. I'm glad it exists. How good is the diamond? It's a great diamond. Okay, it's a really good diamond. There would be an abundance of diamonds and they will have 0 value. Yes, if there were enough diamonds, this is one of the reasons they withhold diamonds from the market, then you can raise the price. Supply and demand. I can sell the diamond for lots of good grass. Exactly. Okay, Isabella, so true. I love how cute you all are. That's awesome. Keep those great personalities. Don't lose that. It's a great part of being young. Okay, so definitely, we want to consider ourselves as the diamonds and not the grass, okay? Because if most adults, and remember, adults are making the decision, though all of you were very interested in the grass, I find that fascinating, but the adults in the room who will be reading your application would most likely stand in line for the diamond, but not the grass. Okay, so this is supply and demand. The basic law says the more there is of something, the more common something is, the less valuable it is. Okay, whereas if something is very rare, it's more valuable. And also it has to have some intrinsic value as well. It can't just be rare and terrible. But if something is rare and valuable, then people want it. Okay, so supply and demand is what we're going to be talking about in order to see what colleges value. Colleges are looking to fill their campus with valuable students. And I know Alexis is like, tell me what valuable means. I need to know what this is. So let's get into it. Value is demonstrated through the ways you can enhance the experience for other students. So suddenly we've come out of the realm of the final part of you graduating. And now we're talking about the college experience, the 4-year bridge between application, getting accepted, enrollment, and finally graduation. There are 4 full years. Well, apparently, according to our charts, sometimes 6 full years where you will be contributing to a college campus. They want to know, will you be adding something beneficial and valuable to them? And here's the big mistake students make. They start to think, what can the school do for me? That is the wrong thinking. If you are thinking about what the school will do for you, you have the wrong perspective, and your essays won't reflect the correct perspective. They're asking, what can you do for us? This is the perspective that gets you in. The more special, unique, or valuable you are to the college, not Olympics, not rare, Cambodian heritage, none of that. The more special, unique, or valuable you are to the college, the more likely they will let you in and give you scholarships. Now we all know how scholarships work for certain people, like athletes. It's like, you're a star athlete, you get a scholarship. Why? Colleges find you valuable. Why? Why do colleges give star athletes full ride scholarships, even kids who can't fit their academic profile? Why are they given full ride scholarships? We all know this logically. Let's put it into words now so that we can fully understand how this works, so that we can take this and apply this to us, because we're not all star athletes. They make a name for the college. That is a big thing that adds value. So Alexis, we're starting to answer your questions. They make a name for the college. Let's see. Not everyone is a star athlete. Of course, it's rare. So they have a rare commodity. So again, supply and demand. They want the students to play with their sports school and help the school win. Not only do they get a win, Rithu, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. What else do they get from their students playing for them? What else? Let's say you go to Ohio State or Michigan, University of Michigan. Those are big rival schools for football. Now, what do those of you, I know at least one of you is from Ohio here, the winning team will bring more athletes to the school, resulting in more money for the college. Yes. How do they make money off of that student? How does the school actually make money off of that student? If the school is good at sports, it gets more kids who want to go to the college. Yes. Mariana, sorry, I lived in Portugal for a long time, so I just did the Portuguese pronunciation. Mariana, that is so right. Tell me more about that. You're right. If the school is good at sports, it gets more kids who want to go to the college. Why? You're right. All I have going for me are good grades and a whole lot of determination. No, Alexis, that's not true. How do I make myself valuable to a college? Just give me a moment to get my point across and we'll get into more. But let's understand why this works first. Why, if you're good at sports, does that bring more kids to the college? And why did colleges value that? Here's the other thing you have to think about. What do kids do while they're at college? They need to be entertained. You have a group. Let's say you're at University of Michigan. I just looked it up the other day. They have 45,000 students. on a campus on a weekend. Do you know what would happen if there was nothing to do? If 45,000 students were bored and had nothing to do? That is a dangerous thing for a large campus. Why do big campuses really focus on athletics? What does it do? They see you winning, so they like, sorry, I lost it. So they see you winning, so they like you. You post on social media, you make it look really fun. Yes, you make their college look good. You make their college look fun. Also, you keep your student body occupied. Colleges are like, wow, you're going to entertain all of our students. How many of those kids are going to go to those football games? Even if they can't go, they're going to watch. All of those students are going to come together. They're going to become really close knit. They're going to watch the games together. You get what I mean? Like, if that's the personality of the student who wants to go to that type of school, perfect fit. You get it? Suddenly you have entertainment for 45,000 students. Not only that, you have alumni who stay really committed to those athletics, and they will pay you money later because they love watching sports. It sounds crazy. I know that not everybody's an athlete, but we have to understand here that this is really, really important. Okay? Understanding that the reason they give merit scholarships to these athletes is because they add value. What adds value? You entertain other students. You become close to other students. You bring something interesting, something unique, something fun to other students. Okay, we're going to look at this now. I see some things in here, so let me read. Okay, people look for a college that has fun things to do. They don't only want academics. Yes, Mariana, that's so true. Not everybody is looking for a 100% academic experience. More eyes on the sport, more advertising. I didn't even think of that, Lisa. Nice. Yes, they're going to make money off of ads. Do some of you have names with Arabic language origin? I started learning a tiny bit of Arabic in my spare time. Yes, it looks like a lot of people here have Arabic name origin. So make some connections. That sounds cool. You are going to live on the campus for 4 more years. So kids want a place they can have fun. Sports are a good way to do this. Yes, peers are oh my goodness. Yes, this is brilliant. Peers are the real value any college has to offer. Do you understand that? Why do people want to go to Harvard? Put it in the chat. I know you know. Why do people want to go to Harvard? Come on, get it in there. They want to go to certain schools because they expect certain things. Everyone is smart and wealthy or something. I like the or something. Yes, everyone's smart and connected and wealthy, and they want to be around that. Harvard is a big name school. It has connections. Society views them as valuable. Why? Because the students have a reputation. They want you to add a reputation. Okay, so let's move forward. The name adds value to your degree. Absolutely, it does. Okay, examples of value in an application. Now, this is just for your application, not your essay. We're going to get into essay in just a moment. These are the big things. These are the things that are out of our control. You've either got them or you don't. And these are the things that Alexis is going, yeah, but I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that. So don't worry, Alexis, the next slide is going to meet your need. Okay, so things like being a star athlete, an award-winning artist, any kind of amazing talent, racial diversity. I put a question mark here because affirmative action is likely going to be shot down once they pass the Supreme Court decision on that. So eventually racial diversity may not add as much, and I think it's coming soon. Also coming from a rare country or location, like international students. Applying out of zone. So what this means is, for example, if you live in New York City and you apply to a school in South Dakota, you would be extremely valuable to students on their campus. Can anyone pop in the chat why? Why would a student from New York City be ultra valuable for a South Dakota university? Why would that be ultra valuable? So this is something that doesn't have to be a star athlete. So here we got, they bring different life experiences. Yes. From a big city to a rural area. Yes. They bring in new perspectives. Yes. Different perspective. Yes. You're more loyal because you made the trip. Ha, Dylan, that's good. You bring a new culture. Absolutely. All of these are spot on. So that's the point, is like, you don't have to just show that you're amazingly talented. You could do things like applying to places other kids from your state or area don't apply to. And now, there are some challenges with that. Like if you don't want to go far away from home, and it's a big challenge, and there are some kids actually drop out of college because of that. So, you have to consider if you're capable of that type of distance from your family. It really takes a certain personality to be able to do that. Okay. All right, here we go. Here is for you, Alexis. Examples of value in your essay. Mom or dad qualities. Do you remember that big accepted stamp I put on our sample earlier when she talked about being like the mom everybody could come to? Mom and dad qualities are very valuable to a college campus. Why? Because they need a few moms and dads within each of the, within each of the dorms. It's like colleges can be a little bit of a wild place. They need some people with good head on their shoulders who are going to be the voice of reason. They need people their other peers can go to and console in and ask questions and get advice, right? These are the things that typically students have turned to their families to, and families won't always be available like they were before. So it's really important. They also don't want all of the students calling home every single minute to get comfort, advice, ideas, opinions. So if you can show that you are someone who really has these mom or dad qualities, that is valuable to colleges. Any character attributes are valuable to colleges because it means they can trust that you're going to not break their rules. When you enter into colleges, you basically sign an agreement that you're going to follow their rules. So this is important. Caring about others, being not self-centered is really important. That's valuable to them. Self-awareness, self-reflection, and maturity are very valuable to them. Also, all of the ways we talked about fit, social fit, personality fit, that's all valuable. They value if you're the right student for them. This is a huge one. Demonstrating people skills and the ability to build healthy, positive relationships. Having a solid friend group, having saying, I have had the same best friend since kindergarten. That is a statement that means something to a college. You get it? You are showing that you can maintain friendships. Why do they value that? I want you all to pop in some ideas of other things that colleges might value. Will you share the slides after this is over? So Ritu, we will only be sharing the replay for 48 hours. So you won't be able to have the slides though. I'm so sorry. It's about how you present it, I think. Which side of being a mom friend you present? Which side of being a mom friend you present? I'm not sure what you're asking, Ava. Can you clarify? Experience with volunteering, perhaps? Yes. Very good. So we will be offering the replay for 48 hours only in our Facebook group. So if you're a kid and you don't have Facebook, your parents probably do. So just make sure you join our Facebook group because we're going to post it in there. Someone asked a question above about how wasn't being a mom friend bad? No, being a mom friend is not bad. Now, the thing that triggered the rejection, let's just remember the true thing that we rejected was that she said that she didn't relate to students her age. That was the mistake. Saying that she was like a mom and that her friends went to her for advice, that was a huge bonus. Saying that you don't relate well to your friends, that's a red flag. Okay, so just be careful. Those are two different things. They can only get this bit of information from either the essay or the letter of rec. Those are the only places they can get this information. So don't waste your essay writing about things that don't demonstrate value to the college. That's your main objective. When we submit essays for our students, when they actually go through our process and we read their essays, we're very careful. We make sure they do not trigger any of the fears or insecurities. They demonstrate the value you will add to campus. Okay, so it is time. You all have the final activity. Is this activity 3? I think it's activity 2. So you all have this in your brainstorming sheet. What I would like you to do is do it for homework, and you're going to do really well with that. Just take a look at the different things and let's start to brainstorm some ways you add value. I give Ava or Alexis, you're welcome. I give you a whole list of ideas there. Okay. So lots and lots of ways to add value to a college campus. Both of these things should be I told you every time changes your to tour. I don't know why. Both of these things should be accomplished in tour essay, in your essay. Okay, you need to make sure you don't trigger the red flags and demonstrate value. Those are the two main objectives. And so we are at the end of today. We almost timed it perfectly. We just had a little bit where we didn't get in, but no worries. Luckily, you have it in your brainstorming sheet. So take a look at that. I want you to really think of the essay you are planning to write. What impression do you want your essay to leave? Okay. What value are you going to add into it? What strategy are you going to use? So again, this is a free call, 15 minutes. Diona's going to pop the link in one more time. And we're also going to pop the link in for everything we've talked about today. So go ahead, Diona, and just pop in all the links with the headings so we know what they are. So please just at least make sure you schedule or register right now for the opt-in page, because we will send you an email with all of these links in there. But if we don't have your email address, we're not legally allowed to send you an email. So it's important that you do that. Okay, so that's number one. Just make sure you do that. And if you have any questions, please ask. We will spend 5 minutes answering questions, and then we will wrap it up because we've got to rest up because tomorrow's another big day. We've got a lot to learn. All right. No, Lisa, but let me know in here if you're already on our list, because if you are, we will need to mark that. So Diona, keep track of who says they're already on our list so that we can make sure they get everything. Someone asked a question. Okay. Tutoring and helping other students in school is probably good since it shows you're not only intelligent, but willing to help others. Yes. The only danger is, you remember earlier, we said, don't repeat things that are in your application in your essays. So, just don't do that. So Isabella, don't give us your email, sweetheart. You've got to put it into the subscription link that Diona is putting into the chat right now. Let's make sure we get everyone clear here. Yeah, no worries. I just want to make sure that you get it. I think I joined the list. Great, Mariana. Also, when you join the list, make sure you check your spam, because sometimes, even though we're not spam, I think we're awesome, but sometimes Gmail thinks we're spam and sometimes Yahoo thinks we're spam. So just make sure you check. Yes, there's the link. So Diona's putting that in, and let's get all of the links from today into the chat box. What I recommend is copy and paste all of those and put them into a document so you can look and sift through the ones you need for later. Okay, so join our Facebook group if you want to watch the replay. Join our opt-in page if you want to receive the link for tomorrow and the email with all the links from today. That includes like the brainstorming activity. Make sure you finish your brainstorming activities from today and have them done for tomorrow. And the recording will be available for 48 hours in Facebook. And I think that's it. We've got a lot to cover tomorrow. I think today was great, but I think tomorrow will blow your minds. So do not miss it. If you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, please don't. Please simply schedule your free call with us. We'll talk you through everything. We'll hear what's going on. We'll make sure that you've got your strategy in line. There's my calendar link now, so you can go ahead and schedule that call. And I think you all did great. So go ahead. I'm going to wait just a few moments, but I will stop the recording. Thank you all for being here today.